Criminals have always tried to get out of prison since they were first built. Usually these attempts fail, but not always. Escapes don't just happen in movies. They actually happen more often in real life than you might think. It's just human nature to want freedom, and some people will do whatever it takes to taste the fresh air outside. Thankfully, most escape attempts don't work, but a very small group of determined criminals sometimes manages to succeed. Are you ready to hear about the people who escaped from prison and lived to tell their stories? Number 1. The bulldozer breakout. Denmark is not exactly famous for its mass prison escapes, but one fateful day a TV film crew stumbled upon an unexpected event. They had received an anonymous tip about a protest happening outside a prison in Copenhagen. Little did they know what they were about to capture on film. A daring bulldozer smashing through the prison wall, creating an opening for prisoners to make their getaway. In the aftermath, a total of 13 inmates took advantage of this chaotic breach to flee, with some of them having convictions for violent crimes. Astonishingly, only 3 out of the 13 were eventually apprehended by the authorities. However, the unexpected twist in this story didn't end there. The film crew, who had unwittingly documented this dramatic escape, found themselves facing legal consequences. They were arrested on charges of failing to promptly notify the police about the unfolding incident. Moving on to number 2, over the wall. When it comes to escaping from prison, some inmates are willing to go to great lengths, even if it means tampering with the prison walls themselves. In a daring attempt, 2 prisoners decided to remove a couple of cinder blocks, creating small openings that they could slip through. To cover their tracks, they used posters to conceal the gaps and arranged pillows and blankets in their beds to make it appear as if they were still there, buying themselves some extra time. However, their taste of freedom was short-lived. A vigilant local resident noticed unusual tracks near a nearby creek and promptly alerted the authorities. This incident serves as a clear lesson. Trying to replicate their escape is not a wise choice for anyone considering a jailbreak. Number 3, quick thinking pays off. Even if you're not a criminal genius, you can still outsmart your captors if you play to your strengths. In one case, an inmate faced a string of failed escape attempts in a single day. Instead of giving up, he chose to be patient and wait for the right moment. His opportunity finally arrived when a garage door began to close. He acted swiftly, sprinting through the narrowing gap, leaving the pursuing police officers behind. He managed to evade capture even during a 2-hour search involving sniffer dogs, demonstrating remarkable quick thinking. However, his streak of luck eventually came to an end the following day, when he was finally apprehended. This story underscores the importance of seizing the right moment and using your wits, even if you're not a criminal mastermind, but also reminds us that the law eventually catches up with those who break it. Number 4, undercover operation. Occasionally, in life's most crucial moments, you have to act on impulse without overthinking. This principle was vividly demonstrated when 2 inmates found themselves on garbage duty just beyond the imposing prison fences. Their plan was far from elaborate. A swift exchange of glances, a nod of agreement, and they were off. In a matter of seconds, they left the supervising guard flabbergasted, frantically calling for assistance on his radio. Once beyond the prison's perimeter, they wisely decided to split up and go their separate ways, hoping to avoid capture. The tale took an inevitable twist a few days later, when both fugitives were apprehended in a nearby barn and apartment complex. The baffling part of this escape saga lies in how they managed to slip away unnoticed, a mystery that endures to this day. This story serves as a reminder that sometimes daring actions in the heat of the moment can lead to fleeting freedom, but the long arm of the law is persistent. Number 5, take your chance. In the world of daring escapes, one prisoner took a bold leap of faith when the opportunity presented itself. As he was being led back to his cell, he seized a daring chance. He discreetly lagged behind the prison guards, slipping out of their view and disappearing behind a transport van. To his astonishment, he discovered that the van's keys were conveniently left in the ignition. Without wasting a moment, he started the van's engine, smashing through the prison's garage door, and made a mad dash for freedom. Unfortunately for him, his taste of liberty was short-lived. His wild getaway came to an abrupt halt as he crashed into nearby trees, leading to his swift apprehension by the authorities. It's quite the ironic twist of fate when someone goes from stealing a car to ending up in jail, a reversal of the usual sequence of events. This tale serves as a stark reminder that even the most daring escapes can have unexpected and unfavorable outcomes. Number 6. Smooth talker. Not all inmates rely on force to escape. Some use the power of charm. In this unusual case, a group of prisoners managed to pull off a seemingly effortless escape. They coolly opened a gate and strolled out of the prison, leaving a guard who had fallen under their spell in possession of the keys. The guard was left utterly flabbergasted, and her stress levels skyrocketed as the realization of her blunder set in. This story did not end well for the charming escapees. The very next day, the guard's mistake came back to haunt her as she was arrested for her role in the escape. The fugitives, too, found themselves in a tense standoff with the police and were ultimately apprehended. The lesson here is quite clear. It's far wiser to focus on matters of the heart rather than attempting to break out of jail. Charm may have its uses, but escaping from the long arm of the law is not one of them. Number 7. Handcuff Houdini. Sometimes even individuals who aren't the brightest bulbs can stumble upon a stroke of luck. In this case, a woman who had been arrested for theft found herself in a police holding cell with tight handcuffs. Miraculously, she managed to wriggle her way out of the restraints, using the keys she found to unlock an emergency exit and slip out the back door without anyone noticing her daring escape. However, her streak of good fortune took a sharp turn when she made the unwise decision to return to the very same hotel where she had been arrested. To her dismay, the hotel staff immediately recognized her, and her brief taste of freedom came to a definitive end. Number 8. Through the window. Believing in oneself is powerful. During processing in a detention center, an inmate seized an opportunity when a friend distracted a guard. He leaped through a small window, repeating, "Think thin," in his head, and escaped in a waiting getaway car. After 26 days, they were found in an abandoned house in another state due to an anonymous tip. The warden realized that locking mechanisms on the windows should have been installed long ago. Number 9. Detailed plan. Prisons are built to keep inmates in, making escape attempts extremely challenging. Yet a trio of inmates devised a detailed and daring plan to defy the odds. Their scheme involved using low-lying air vents to access concealed plumbing shafts behind the prison walls. Resourceful to the core, they crafted ropes from bed sheets, ensuring they were well prepared for their escape. Waiting for them was a getaway van stocked with fresh clothes and a bottle of Jack Daniels for a celebratory toast once they were free. Remarkably, this precisely coordinated operation unfolded in just 8 minutes, captured on a cell phone camera. However, the cost of their brief moment of triumph was steep. Their escape led to their recapture, and they traded their 15 minutes of notoriety for an additional 15 years behind bars. This story highlights the immense risks and consequences associated with attempting a prison break, even one as carefully planned as this. Number 10. The fearless getaway. Sometimes all you need is guts and determination to make a daring escape. Imagine this: a teenager who had been arrested for getting into a fight found himself alone in an interrogation room at a detention center. Incredibly, just 10 seconds after being left unattended, he decided to take a bold leap. Without a second thought, he threw himself out of a second-story window, landing safely on the ground below. It was a remarkable feat, and he managed to run off to freedom. However, his taste of liberty was short-lived as he was eventually found 3 hours later at a friend's house.